It's time for Living Your Purpose, a motivational and inspirational podcast with Peter and Joyce Nielsen.
Hey everybody, welcome to Living Your Purpose podcast. I'm Peter Nielsen with my lovely wife Joyce, and we are in our backyard and we are just sucking it up as much summer as we can. Here it is. It's literally the 4th of July and we wanted to still come to you. We hope that if you're traveling safe, and if you're enjoying your family and you're safe in the process. So today is a topic that I think as I get older, it hits me harder. And it's all about time. Stop wasting valuable time. And, it's so vitally important. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, it's one of the most precious commodities we have is our time.
It is. It really, really is, and if you do like this, before I get into this episode, just hit the subscribe button below if you're watching on YouTube or iTunes or wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. We just appreciate you. I think about this and I'm just, it's heavy on my heart. It's like my dad died at 49 years young from smoking and drinking. He had an addiction to those things. And I remember this man who was a Danish man. He stood almost 6'4", and he looked like the picture of health. And I wouldn't wish a dog to suffer the way he did the last year. And he was down to like 90 something pounds. And it just broke my heart. But on his deathbed, the last thing that I remember him ever saying to me before I then went from New York to fly back to Michigan, because I thought that he had more time, was my dad saying, "I wish I had more time." And I asked him, I says, "Do you have any regrets?" And I remember him even asking for a cigarette. He smoked these little cigars called Between the Acts, and they looked like cigarettes, but they were dark like cigars. And he wanted to have a drink before he passed. I gave it to him. He wanted to smoke, and we knew that he had just very limited time. But one of the last things that he said that I remember before I took off to come back to Michigan was, "Peter, I wish I had more time." And we can make more money, paper, but we can't make more time. And like you said, the most valuable commodity you'll ever have in your existence is time. There's 86,400 seconds to this 24-hour day. And every day, babe, we see that sun, we see it set on that lake. And I remember as I was raising my two daughters and we were on the boat, and my daughters would always say, "Dad, why do you take pictures all the time of sunsets?" And I would say to them, there's never two sunsets that are the same.
He still does that.
I do, because they're precious, and for many people today, they won't see tonight or tomorrow's sunrise or sunset. So I say to each and every one of you, are you maximizing your time or are you wasting it? Because everyone who has been watching or listening, whether it's to this podcast, the radio show, my TV show over decades, I'm very passionate. I've had 2 death experiences, and I always seize the moment of each and every day. And I say this with love. I believe that our Creator deposits this 86,400 seconds into our soul every day. We get up, we could complain about the weather, we could say we're bored, we could have road rage, we could not work out, we could eat garbage, We could complain that our nails broke or that our car broke down. But at the end of that day, before the clock strikes 12, I believe our Creator withdraws that 86,400 seconds. We can never, ever get it back. Have you maximized your day, baby?
I like to think I do, but then again, I catch myself. So it's a good reminder to all of us out there, you know. I catch myself sometimes.
I love your free spirit. I mean, you do have an amazing free spirit. And she gets me out of my comfort zone. Like she'll say to the whole family, okay, we're going on a hike. We're going on a hike. Your son's playing Legos.
20 minutes, let's
go. Your son's playing Legos. Your daughter's inside drawing. Okay, everybody, we're leaving in 10 minutes. We're going on a bike ride. We'll go. And I love you. Or you're saying to the kids, we're going kayaking. Get ready. And you know, and the beautiful thing is that is what our hope is for you. Get out of your comfort zone. That's where all the growth happens. Do something you've never done before. You just may like it. You know, and I'll say this, right?
True.
I'll say this, is that with the TV show Peter's Principles, over the years, I interviewed some of the best experts in their field. I mean, from vice presidents of the United States to Indy 500 car race winners. And I would do things. I was with a world champion rock climber. I did all these different things. I looked like a doofus sometimes, but some of those things I really, really enjoyed. I remember doing paddle boarding, which you and I do, but I remember doing it on television and falling in the water like 6 times, laughing. It was like bloopers. But I realized that I want to do that.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun.
Get back up and do it again.
And you do it again. You know, and then what's the other one where you're paddle sailing, where you're holding on to that sail, but you're standing up. You need a windy day.
Yeah.
But that's on my bucket list. I want to do that.
Kite surfing?
Kite surfing. Kite surfing. And my point is that, you know, almost every talk that I talk, whether it's on stage, at a convention center, a lot of times even at the end of the TV show, I'll give like a 2 to 3 minute commentary. And there's many, many times that I talk about time. And a good example that is pretty mind-boggling, but when we celebrate birthdays, when we celebrate anniversaries, we just had an anniversary, when we celebrate a pinnacle point in our lives, whether it's a graduation or whether it is a retirement, we do it in years. But I want to just take this one step further. Let's do it in days. There's 86,400 seconds in 24 hours. 24 hours is one day. There's 365 days in 1 year. The average person, if you are blessed, will live to 75 to 80. Let's just say, let's give you the benefit of the doubt, 80. Exactly. 120.
130.
But if you were blessed to live to be 80 years old, that's the average person. I mean, women are higher than men. Men are more in their late 70s. But say 80 years old. What do you think that equates to in days? That's actually 29,200 days. It's chilling. And say if you're 60 years old and you're watching or you're listening right now, and you lived and you were blessed to live to 80, you only have 7,300 days left. And my question again goes, what are you doing with your time? And I know that I can get on a rant with this, But it's like, I know so many people that waste valuable time.
Yeah, when you break it down, it really makes you reflect.
Right. I mean,
about how precious every day is.
I mean, think
or
about
how
it.
you plan out the next, even
Decade
months,
or months.
decades. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We were talking about this yesterday. We're with the kids. It's summer. We spend amazing 2 weeks starting summer. Fun, fun, fun. It was like a vapor. It was like, poof. And then you and I were talking, and we want to end up, here we're in Michigan, and we love it here, but we want to end up in Florida. And, the kids are at a certain age, and, by the time they get to 15 or 16, they're driving. Their friends are somewhat more important than a lot of their family members. So I was saying, I've lived it with 2 daughters who I love to death. One is 26, the other is going to be 30, and I'm a grandfather times 2. One I think is 5, and the other's 3. And my point is this, is that we need to enjoy this time. Your daughter is 11, 12.
Wow.
So 12, 13, 14, 15, she gets her driver's permit. That's about 1,000 days from now. And if you want to say, okay, she's legal to have her driver's license, that's 16 and a half, depending on what state you're at. And now all of a sudden, we don't see them as much. We're not in that inner circle. We're in the inner outer circle.
When people break down their goals, sometimes you do like a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. And I think 5 years from now, my daughter is going to be off in college.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. So I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this piece because of having 2 near-death experiences. The last one was just crazy. 2001, March 7th. My heart stopped. I went into cardiac arrest. I had the perforation, many of you know, with Crohn's disease. But I don't take 1 second of one day for granted, because I don't know about tomorrow. God does not guarantee you tomorrow. So that's why to live in that moment and be hopeful for tomorrow. And a lot of us waste so much time because we're reading pages of the last chapter of our book. And we become that character and that victim sometimes, and we reread and rewrite that over and over again. We need, biblically it even says, leave the past behind, learn from it, and spring forward, because it will mind screw you if you don't forgive yourself or forgive others. That will help set you free and make you enjoy more time. Hey baby, what are you doing for the rest of your life? I'm so glad I married
time
this.
with you, babe.
Exactly. Good answer. Good answer. But I just want each and every one of you today to, whatever you're doing, whether you're driving and listening, whether you're working out, whether you're riding your bike and you got your headset on and you're listening to our show here today, is just don't put off. I'm going to say it again. Don't put off what you want to, should do today for tomorrow. Because sometimes tomorrow doesn't happen. Sometimes there isn't plan B. Sometimes you don't get a second chance at this. This is not a dress rehearsal. There's one episode that I wish I could take back, and I haven't really talked about it, but the gentleman, Dr. Jason Botson, first home cooked meal I ever had when I came to the state of Michigan in 1985, and he was the person who God put in my life who did my surgery in 2001. Jason was an incredible man. It was an 8-hour surgery. He refused when a hole perforates in your intestines, it was in my small intestines, your body goes into shock because your waste starts going through your bloodstream and your organs, and you get blood poisoning and you go septic. And when that happens, then all your organs start shutting down. And for many people, if you don't get in touch with that medically within 17 to 22 minutes, they say, you're done. You're going to either have brain damage or you're going to lose your life. He refused, after them putting defibrillators on me 5 different times in that 8-hour surgery, to pronounce me dead, to let me go. He said no. And my point is that I am forever grateful to him. He unfortunately was diagnosed years ago with Lou Gehrig's disease. And it eventually, became terminal, where he was losing function of his body, of his breathing, of his swallowing, of his lungs. And I bought him this, we loved Cabernet red wine, and I bought him this great bottle of wine one year for his birthday. He said, I'm going to save this, and I'm not going to drink it unless you drink it with me. So I was traveling a lot, and this is probably maybe 6 years ago, and I was traveling a lot, and he left me this message, and he was in Israel trying to get stem cell to help save his life. He said, Peter, when I come back, he says, I want to open that great bottle of wine you got me. He said, and I want to just celebrate life with you. And I said, absolutely. And I came from my home from my traveling, and he basically came back from Israel, and it wasn't going well. And he left me another message on my cell phone, and I could hear the weakness in his voice. He said, Peter, I love you. He said, if you're around, he says, can you come over tomorrow? He said, and can we open up that bottle of wine? And I remember listening to it like 3 times, and I had to get ready to go to California, and I was exhausted, and I got up that morning, and instead of going to visit him, I basically relaxed, packed, and then got ready to get on a plane the following day. When I went away, I got news that he passed. And the reason why I'm sharing this is that I wasted valuable time. God gave me not 1, but 2 warnings and nudges to go visit him. He wanted to see me. And I know that God has forgiven me. I asked God and his family for forgiveness. But my point is that don't waste valuable time. If there's someone you're supposed to reconcile and call them. Call them today. If there's someone you're supposed to see that is sick and not well, and they live across town, and there's construction, and you just want to do it when it's more convenient for you, don't. Do it now. So I've learned so much from losing my dad to losing a dear friend of mine who literally God used to save my life. Time is precious. Time is our most valuable commodity. And when you break it down to days, I say this to my mother, who we're going to go visit because it's heavy on my heart. My mom's 90 and a half years old. She's healthy. She walks a mile a day. When I call her and I say, Mom, I haven't talked to you in 2 days. I'm like, are you okay? She's like, Peter. My mom's Italian. She's like, Peter, can I call you back? I'm playing bocce ball and having a vodka and tonic with the girls. I'm saying, I want to grow up like my mother.
Me too.
I'm serious. She is amazing. So we're going to go there. But my point is when I say this to her, she goes, "Oh, Peter," and she goes to hit me on the shoulder. My mom is living on borrowed time. If you're 85 years old, and statistically that average person lives to 80, you're 5 years on borrowed time. My mom is 10 and a half years as a gift from our Creator. And the point of me saying that is, where are you in your life? When you're 30 years old, you don't think about time. When you're 25, or when you're 9 or 12 or 10 and 12, you don't think about time. But when you're 40 or 50 or 60, and you think about what I said, and you start thinking about how many days you got left, that's heavy. So, when you and I met for our first date, yesterday was 3 years. And then I just remember saying to a dear friend of mine who happened to be a pastor, and I said, I says, we'll probably wait, and we'll probably, we got engaged, and we'll probably wait. And he says, don't allow the enemy to screw this up. He says, you make sure you put a ring on that, he says, finger of hers, and you get married and honor God. And when you're our age, and you're much younger than I, you don't want to waste any moments of life. You want to maximize them. We want to travel. We want to take expeditions and do things we've never done before, because we don't know how much time we have left, and neither do you. And especially if you're sick, especially if you were diagnosed with something that you don't know if it's going to go sideways. Instead of getting angry at God, instead of getting angry at the people around you, do what a friend of mine, Dave Emmett, did. Dave Emmett was my best friend. He was an engineer. He and his wife also owned, and she still does, Mary, Plymouth Apple Orchard. Dave Emmett taught me how to fly a helicopter. He taught me how to live, but he also taught me how to die. And I say that so sincerely because he never, ever raised his voice. I never saw him mad. I never saw him sad. He was just so balanced and full of love and light. And on his deathbed, as crazy as it sounds, his children came in from California and Boston and everywhere, and we took a picture. And it was dark in the room, and the picture came out amazing. He has this big smile on his face. He still was able to talk. And I remember him saying, will you watch Mary for me? I said, yeah. And the point is that day when Mary called me and I was on my way home, and she says, Peter, I think today's the day, I made a U-turn and I went immediately to the house. When I got to the house, Dave was weak, but he was still coherent. And I didn't think it was going to happen that day. And I remember saying to Mary, spend some time, let's all go out, spend some time with Dave. So about an hour goes by, we were in the kitchen. She comes back and she's bawling. And she said, Peter, she says, he's worried about me. She says, he doesn't want to leave. I remember praying with her, and I said, Mary, you need to go back in there and give him permission to go and let him know everything's going to be okay. She went back in there and she says, Dave, everything's going to be okay. You can go. You're struggling. It's okay. That night, just as it got dark, Dave took his last breath. And when I say that he taught me how to die, he didn't get upset with the news of having brain cancer. He didn't get jaded and desensitized and angry at the world and God that this was the deck of cards that were dealt to him. He put his shoulders back and he said, you know something, I've had a great life, and whatever time I have left, I'm going to enjoy with the people I love. That's what my hope, that's what my prayer to each and every listener, viewer is, because that's what we do every day.
Yeah, such a great message. Very.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like for people that even have depression, or people that, you know, and we've talked about it with mental health, sometimes, you know, even you get in your head, you isolate yourself, but you can never get that time back. We all need our alone time, but don't shut your life off. Don't live your life on the sidelines. Don't shut people that love you out, because at the end of the day, at the end of our time, at the end of our life, in my opinion, what is the most important is to be loved and to love. Drop mic. That is what our life is all about. It's not about the cars we have, the titles I've won, the TV shows. It's about us being with the kids and our grandkids in our little proximity and loving on each other, breaking bread together, laughing like goofballs, and creating memories.
Those are my favorite moments in time.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and again, I know I may have been on a rant, and I apologize, but it's just when you've had 2 close calls where you literally have been gone and then brought back, life is a gift. And I hope and I pray that you have even this much enthusiasm, excitement about life as I do, because life is a gift. And God gives us that gift. And I'll leave with this. What we do with our time, what we do with our life, is our gift back to Him. And that is what people are going to remember us on, how we smiled, how we made them feel when we were with them. So if there's a message here that anyone is going to receive, stop wasting valuable time, because you can never get today back. So Joyce and I, we just wish that you have an amazing holiday week. And if you would like to learn more about us, you could go to peternielsen.com or transformwithpeter.com. If you'd like to come and visit one of our events, we have an event in Detroit, July 27th. You could go to thelifetransformation.com, buy tickets. Got amazing guests. Got Andrea Shore, four-time, going to be 5-time this fall. Miss Olympia. We have Mary, who just has an amazing woman ministry, and we have an Emmy Award filmmaker, Christian Knowles. It's just going to be a really wonderful 4 hours with 4 great speakers, and we are looking for each and every one of you to join us. Yeah, for Breakthrough. It's from from 9 until 1 on a Saturday, so you can enjoy the rest of your day. God bless each and every one of you. Have an amazing week. Be safe on this 4th of July, and we'll see you the same time next week. Bye. You know, over the years, I realized that being born with an incurable condition called Crohn's disease truly became my rocket fuel. Are you in a situation right now where you feel stuck? You're looking for a breakthrough. I want to take the message of hope on the road with my friends. So join me for the new Life Transformation Tour. that starts July 27th in the state of Michigan, in Livonia. I'm going to have special guests that are experts in their field, mind, body, and spirit. If you're at a place where you're looking to lose those last 50 pounds, maybe break an addiction, or better a relationship or occupation, join me for the Life Transformation Tour. Let's get better together. Go to thelifetransformation.com for more information.